Let me see. That's why I have my phone so I can see if it goes in.
Hello, people. I'm back. That was about an hour of technical difficulties, but I'm back. Big T is checking to make sure we are live.
All right.
I think I got a reflection of my glasses in here. All right. Hello, peoples. Hello. I'll give a few minutes to see if we have someone joining us. If you don't know, I'm Nisha, otherwise known as Mocha is Me. And I really wanted to go live after I hit my first milestone of 100 subscribers, which for me was a really big milestone because it was a blessing. I didn't even necessarily have to have one subscriber, so the fact that I ended up with 100, I feel more than blessed for that. So I thank you for those of you that are tuning in right now. Like, share, subscribe, guys. Welcome to the channel. It's Mocha is Me. Turn on that notification bell to stay notified of when I upload and when I go live. It's been a few days. We've been on a break. Yeah. So I'm just kind of waiting to see if we get some people in here. Today we are going to be discussing this mystery file. The mystery file. I got something on my glasses. Hello, peeps. Give it a few more minutes and let us get some people in here. Hello, everyone. Hello. All right. Well, I'm going to kind of go ahead and get started. Hopefully, we'll get some more people in here viewing, but I want to go ahead and get started. We've been on a break from the YSL trial, right? And it's kind of been a lot going on, but where we ended at was day 140. Day 140, a few things happened that particular day, but what I want to kind of hone in and focus on is the magical file that has appeared. Now, let's get one thing correct. This file was not Gaither's original file. This file was a copy of Gaither's original file regarding the Dexter Montgomery case, where Demise McMillan, aka Nard, and Walter Murphy, aka DK, are charged with the shooting that resulted in him losing a portion of his head. Right. And it was something that also involved Kevin Treadwell or OG Bentley. Of course, he wasn't charged for it, but it's revolved around that situation with DK at the gas station. Right. And so one thing that Detective Gaither said is, whenever she's working a case, we all have the understanding, or maybe it's just I have the understanding, or I thought I had the understanding, is when the detectives are working a case, when they decide that it's ready to be presented to the DA, they then send over their case file. I think she called it the control room or something like that. Well, essentially, what she said is they don't just turn over their case files once it's ready. There's different steps throughout the process of them investigating. A DA may ask to see their case file or case notes that they have. And because of that, they will send over, I guess, essentially some of what they have. So, in this instance, that's what she's saying happened. At some point in time, someone asked her for what she had on this Dexter Montgomery case, and she sent what she referred to as copies of her file over to the control room and her DA's office. She said normally what she would do is she would copy everything. She would note it, label it copy, stamp it, something like that, where it says copy, and then she would send it over. She said her specific case files usually have like an introductory sheet on the inside of the folder, and it'll have like the case numbers and who's involved, potential suspects, all that kind of listed. And that's what distinguishes her case from other cases. What is playing? Sorry. I'm like, what? but maybe I did that accidentally. Okay. So essentially that's what she says she does. So at some point she did this. She sends her file over to the DA's office, and it's a copy of what she has thus far at some point in her investigation. It was not the end of her investigation. So during the trial, so Gaither specifically, and I went back and I took some notes. Okay. So Gaither in particular was on the stand days 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, and 68. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. Now, the majority of these days, so day 63 through 67, the state had her the entire time. That's before she went to um the defense for cross-examination. They got her on day 68. So essentially she spent let's do a rough estimate, because some of these was like 4-hour days or whatever. So taking that to account, they spent roughly, let's just say for kicks and giggles, 20 hours with her. That's direct examination. You can't tell me we don't need to streamline this case some more. And then the defense had her for a day. So to say that the defense gets to ask all the questions they want, but we have to somehow limit what we ask. No, the state is clearly asking whatever questions they want for as long as they want. So that is how long Detective Gaither was on the stand. Now, what I want to do is first start off by playing a clip from day 140. And the reason why I want to start at the end and then work our way back to the beginning is because there was something that stood out to me during day 140, where the ADA Love says that when Judge Whitaker asked ADA Love, when did you realize that you had this file? You know? And she said specifically that she was looking for a mugshot that had a signature on it in preparation for DK. Now, DK was Hilton's witness. She did his entire direct, but she said she was looking for a mugshot that was signed off on, and she remembers seeing it somewhere, but she wasn't for certain where she had seen it at. And so that's when she laid eyes on this file that she had. And if you take that as face value, you're like, okay, that makes sense. Well, then at that time, she was digging through this, and I'm sure she's seen case notes and, maybe even suspects' names and different mugshots that were included within this file. And so if you add into that, so that's how she says she discovers the file. Okay. She says last Thursday, not this past Thursday, but the Thursday before that. So the last week of September, rather. She said that she had messaged Dennis and sent him pictures of it and said, "Hey, do you know whose file this is?" And he never responded. Now, some portions of this file, or maybe its entirety, she did not specify, have been scanned in to what the defense got in evidence as discovery. It was never labeled. It was never said this is what it is. But if you want to be completely honest, let's not act like the ADA did not include a bunch of irrelevant information in the discovery. They didn't want to completely and 100% identify every single thing that they had, and that is clearly obvious. So what they did was they took most jail calls from every single person involved in this case and sent them all to the defense. So let's just say they really only have 100 jail calls that they want to use for this case for all the people involved. What they did was send them thousands of jail calls and basically said, you sift through it and figure out what we're going to use and what we're not, without ever disclosing that, even though they were told several times to disclose that. They just never did. So it's not surprising that even if they would have back then assumed that this case file belonged to either Dennis or Gaither in their uncovering of this situation, that they may not have particularly said, hey, yo, we think this case file belongs to Dennis and Detective Gaither for the Dexter Montgomery shooting. They just basically scanned it all in and said, figure it out. So with that in mind, have that in mind, what they did was they included that in there, but then basically never labeled it, never got back with the defense. There was so much discussion around these case files because the defense just didn't have anything. Even though they had a piece of something, they never knew who it belonged to. And if you leave it up to Love, by the way she presented it last week on day 140, she presented it as if this case file was all together, nice and somewhat neat. And the only thing she needed to figure out is, was it Dennis's or Gaither's? But she never disclosed that to the defense, even though she was told several times to disclose that to the defense. So I started kind of paying attention to that because that was around the time that I really started watching it. Like I started watching it at the beginning, but I was in and out. But that's around the time that I really kind of like, really it was around Trontavia Stevens. But, I would go a day and miss a day and go a day and miss a day. But that's when I really started focusing in on. So I said, she said she was looking for something particular for Walter Murphy. And that's when she found this case file in this dark burgundy file. But she never said anything. Why wouldn't she have said something? So that got my gears to turning. And so we're just going to start playing the clip. This is from last Wednesday, day 140 with Love. This is how she brings up the case file. And if you just pay attention to the defense, she shocked the hell out of everybody because they knew nothing about it, knew that there had been some clarity as to what this file was that they had access to and who it belonged to. She basically blindsided everybody and just said, here you go, have at it. So pay attention to the faces of the defense, especially Max Sharp. You see that head come up quick, fast, and in a hurry when she asked a certain question. So pay attention of how she sneakily got this in and then how easily Judge Whitaker dismissed. But if you know, like I know, Judge Glanville gave some very specific instructions when it came to this case file. So here we go. Listen out for this clip.
To do that. To get more corroborating information. That case we were still in the process of working it until we tried to get everyone identified and charged accordingly. We knew that he was involved with YSL members, and we.
I can. Yeah. Did you have information, or were you working on leads as it related to a Nard?
Yes.
The Brownsville Road shooting.
Yes.
All right. And I think I asked you whether you knew who Nard was at the time that Mr. Zachary signed that piece of paper showing Nard.
Correct.
And am I correct that at the time you hadn't yet identified him, or you had and were still trying to confirm?
I believe I had his name. We were trying to confirm if he was the person in the surveillance video.
Now, when you said something like, did I hear you say Big Nose Nard that had been charged with kidnapping? Did I hear you say something like that during the interview?
I believe Quindarius said that.
Okay. And did you have information that Demise McMullen had been arrested for kidnapping?
Yes.
Did you pull that report, that incident report?
Yes.
And did you also, during your investigation, obtain a phone number for Demise McMullen or Nard?
Yes.
And was that number 404-217-6? Your Honor, I'm asking a question.
Thank you for tuning in. We're going over the mystery.
Do you recall
file.
the number that you obtained for Demise McMullen?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Would seeing, first of all, did you keep a file for that case?
The kidnapping case?
Not the
But-
kidnapping case, but for the Browns Mill Road shooting case.
I did.
And
Look
did
at
you
Max
have
Sharp.
that file
And still.
after you left the Atlanta Police Department?
No,
What did you do with that file?
I left it with the Atlanta Police Department in a file cabinet.
In a file cabinet?
Yes, ma'am.
Describe what that file looked like, if you can, to the jury.
It's approximately what 7, 8 inches thick. It was reddish brown file folder binder. Had clips in it.
They're
a
not
bunch of
getting it yet.
paperwork.
They're not
Did-
getting it yet.
Did you look at with the state any such file before coming here right now?
Look at everybody.
Did I look at it? Yes.
Okay.
Look.
And did you recognize that to be the file that
Yes.
you kept? Okay. Would showing you a portion of that file refresh your memory as to what phone number that you had?
Your Honor, may we approach?
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. Don't ask me why this damn commercial just keep coming. I don't know, but it is what it is at this point.
An early lunch. Be back at 1. An early and long lunch.
All right, from Dirk.
Yeah. All right, if y'all want to take a look at that before the witness gets back.
No, you can't really see it because of the way it is, but now you can see it when they're starting to zoom out a little bit. Look how the state is like frantically putting this thing together. Like they had took it apart at some point and now they're putting it back together. But the interesting about this is because you've never
Your Honor?
said anything.
Just gonna put it back in the condition it was in
And-
just a minute ago and then permit them to look at it.
How do we
Your
know
Honor?
what
Yes.
you're saying is in
Um,
there, came in there?
Before
You
we
don't.
ask Investigator Gaither any questions, I would ask the court to inquire of the state when they received this file
Exactly.
and how they received this file. Because
Mhm.
we're completely in the blind.
Okay,
We went over to the Atlanta Police Department.
when?
Obviously,
Is your mic on?
That's not where she said she found it, though. That's not where she said she found it. It's not. She just started blending the story.
just before we served, I think we called it complete case files from Operation Planners.
The Three
incident.
Musketeers.
This is where we got this one, the other ones that were included in that discovery tranche
What other ones?
from the Atlanta Police Department. That's where they came from. The one titled Complete Case Files of 2015 Operation Planners. If the
Okay.
court will allow me, I will ask
Okay.
our legal assistants to give me the date that we served the file called Complete Case Files of Operation Planners.
Okay, and so the contents of that file were served whenever that was.
Yes.
All right, what led you to suddenly ask Detective Gaither if this was her file?
As I was looking through for a particular number, I was trying to find both that photograph where Mr. Zachary had signed 8515 NARD on the Browns Mill
Uh-huh.
Road photograph. So I was looking for that. And I was just looking through everything that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And in looking through it, because I knew I'd seen it somewhere, I found it in this particular file folder. And looking at it, I initially I'll show the court what I was about to show.
Well, why don't you put it back together? And then, and I know we're asking you to do several things at once. So how about put it back together and then you can finish your answer.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Hold this.
I'm just playing this so you can hear her reasoning and her excuse. Because I was dumbfounded afterwards. So I just want you guys to hear her excuse so that we can just that's going to be our baseline for where we're going to go next. Look, Atkins turns around and sees that the camera is paying a lot of attention to what they're doing. So he kind of tries to block it a little bit. If you're being upfront and honest, you don't have to do all this. You just don't have to. But just pay attention. The camera, I think, kind of realizes it and they back off a little bit. But I wish I was there. I would be zoomed into everything. But look at these guys over here. They're all like, what the what? The what the what? I think I'm gonna try to speed it up just a little bit, just because you guys know how long-winded love is. So we just gonna try to get it moving. Like if you thought Max was pissed off about the whole June 7th ex parte, imagine how annoyed he is right now. When something he's been asking for the better part of 2 years and really drilling for 6 months, all of a sudden.
Yeah. Okay. Now you can finish your answer as to why this suddenly seemed like it might be.
Look, she's trying to figure it out. She's not necessarily good on the fly, but she can put it together. It makes sense to her, and I guess that's the only person got to make sense to, right? Is you. If I was the detective investigating, you told me what you told me, I'd be like,
that has been served.
I don't think so.
Let somebody else do that.
Okay, someone else is pulling up. So anyway, Your Honor, as I said, I was trying to, when we were getting ready for Mr. Zachary,
Yep.
actually, I think it may have been another witness, Mr. Murphy,
Mhm.
but I remember seeing somebody's handwriting on a picture of someone at the Browns Mill Road gas station, the Citgo. So as I was looking for that, I started looking for, I said, I remember somebody's signature being on it. I don't remember if I thought it was Mr. Zachary or whomever.
Okay.
In either event, I found this particular, the one that we've entered as, anyway, the one that Mr. Zachary signed.
Murphy was day 57
8515.
through 60.
I found that and pulled it out and just started looking at it.
Yep.
I didn't know whose file it was. And in fact, I sent a text message to Detective Dennis on a particular date.
A particular
asking
date.
him whose writing is
Not
this
the
on
date.
Thursday of last week. And it was a portion of this file that contained a report about Demise McMullen and a kidnapping. And it had Demise Nard McMullen. So I asked Dennis, whose writing is this? And I don't see where he wrote me back, but while I was in the back just now, I asked Sergeant Gaither, whose writing is this? And
Right.
she said, I think I asked her in the, like, whose writing is this? And I don't remember whether she said it was hers or Dennis's, but I asked her if this looks like her file. And she said, that looks like my file, what's in it? And I said, here. And I showed her what was in it, the stuff that they were looking at, that I was looking at. And she said, it looks like my file. And so I came out here and that's That's what I asked her. I asked her, did she see that? Did I show her? Did she see it? Does it look like her file? She's answered the way that the court is aware. And we're looking at the discovery that we served, and Mr. Atkins is telling me that we served that in 2022. So I was, well, wait, we're confirming. I'll take that back. We're confirming when it was served. But I know that we provided this information because after I saw that, I went and looked up.
When were the discussions about whether Sergeant Gaither's file existed or was destroyed in the hack or whatever? When did those occur? Before or after that discovery was served?
I think after, but yeah, but I don't think, I know for a fact that this, whatever was discussed, like when I looked through
Day
that file,
63 through
I don't see in
68.
that file either, anything that was like.
Actually indicates that it's, I mean, I didn't either in my quick cursory review of it. In fact, there are some reports from other investigators and I don't see any handwritten notes or anything like that. But so, I mean, I guess, did you recall at this time that what everybody previously thought was that or Sergeant Gaither's file no longer existed?
Did she recall or did I recall?
Did you recall? When you went and asked her, hey, is this your file?
No,
You didn't remember that? Did you remember that? I mean, when she was like, yeah, that might be my file. Were you like, huh, so it actually exists after all? Or were you like, not even remembering that it didn't exist?
No, I remembered when they were asking her questions about interviews or certain things within that she said were within her file. And I didn't see, that's not in what I have. I've never seen that. So I cannot say, no, I didn't say, oh, this now exists because nothing that she said didn't exist exists
In there still.
Right.
Correct. I didn't see anything.
Y'all, if you want to take a look at it, and if I'll let you ask Sergeant Gaither whatever you want to about it, or if there's still things missing from it. I'm sure that, this is obviously a hard copy paper file. And I imagine in this day and age, people don't download everything from the computer, and maybe she had an electronic file also, and that's what she meant, but y'all can find out.
Can I just clarify the record a little bit?
Yeah.
And I would very much like to look at that file. Last time, and I believe it was last time, I can't recall how many times Investigator Gaither has testified, but I'm going to say last time. She took the stand. There were specific things that she said she did, and they were not in the reports given to us. I'm aware that the state gave us electronic copies of certain documents
Right.
in 2022. No one's disputing that. She claimed that, well, I did do that and I did document it. I wrote reports.
Right.
And I said, well, where are the reports? Because we
Thank
had
you, Daddy.
discovery
Yeah.
and it didn't have any of these reports pertaining to the work she claimed she did.
Yeah.
And so then we talked to Judge Glanville about it, and Judge Glanville kind of summarily attributed it to the hack, which I didn't necessarily agree with, but he also told the state, you need to go to APD and make due diligence, your best to find this file. Everyone was looking for this file. And then apparently the state obtained this file and never reported back to the court or to defense counsel, hey, this file that everyone was looking for, last time Investigator Gaither testified, we found it. This is what's in it. Here you go. Because my understanding, I haven't looked at it, but other people on the team have, the new discovery that was served does not contain that amount of information from the file. That I'm looking at how thick that file is. There's like one police report and a new tranche of information that they're claiming they served after the file. But at no point did anyone from the state tell anyone on the defense, to my knowledge, at least to me, hey, remember that file that you guys were asking about and Judge Glanville instructed us to go find? We actually went and we found this file. And I just don't know how that happens, that we're learning that this missing file has apparently been discovered. I guess we're going to review it to see. I don't know how we learn about that in the middle of direct testimony. That's just tough for me to reconcile with everyone being above board.
Right.
Your Honor, I'm reviewing the discovery actually that was served, discovery 1 of 3.
What are you making?
He's chilling with me. So, all right. So that's what I wanted to share as far as the file is concerned, because she can't make it make sense. In her mind, you heard her say, well, I was looking for Quindarius. No. It may have been Walter Murphy. And that's when I found said file. And, that's the end of it. She don't say nothing else. That's when she discovered it. She didn't say nothing to the defense. She didn't say nothing to the judge. She didn't say anything to anyone about that particular file. She just went on about her merry way and just said, here we are, and then she goes on about her business as if there's no problem with that. You know what I mean? Oh, well, it is what it is, right? So what I want to next get into is my very next clip. Is this is loves this is when this is going to be day 67, and it's a very small clip, but on this particular day Love asked Shar to accompany her outside so that she can ask Detective Gaither about her report. And where is it out? Well, you know what? We won't even worry about day 67. Let's go. So we'll just talk through that one. Basically, what she does is she asks, on day 67, Max Shard is asking about the reports in anticipation of his cross-examination. And there's a point about 3 hours and 2 minutes where Love asks Shark to accompany her outside to talk to Gaither about her reports. And he does so. And then at the end of the day, Shark goes outside with Brown to the witness room and asks Gaither about the reports. Essentially what she says is, I'm retired from APD. I no longer work there. I didn't take anything from there. I don't have any reports. And that's basically where they leave it. Okay. And then what next happens is, I'm sorry, I put all these, I timestamped it all on my notes. So on day 68, about, what is it, about 50? That's when he's on cross. This is day 68. So about 31 minutes in, they have a conversation at the top of the morning where Sharp says, you know, hey, I talked to her again this morning. She essentially says she doesn't have any reports, but I want to know, has anything changed as of yet? It's like a Wednesday. He's like, I want to know, has anything changed? Maybe it's not a Wednesday. I don't know. But anyways, he says, I want to know, has anything changed? Did we find any reports? And they're like, nope. We don't have any reports. And then Love comes on and was like, you know, I want to know specifically what reports he's asking about so that we know. And so I am going to play that little clip just because she's very specific about what she's asking, he's asking, so that they can know. And he is very he's very sure of what he's asking. So we're just gonna go with that. So we're gonna go here. Oh, I'm sorry. Eventually I'm gonna have to get a new computer because my computer is a little slow. But no. Let me go back here. All right, so I'm bringing up this clip now for you. And so you can see.
Okay, all right.
This is day
All right,
68
anything I need to
at
take up
about
before we go ahead
31
and
minutes and 12
call our
seconds.
jurors for the morning and recall retired Detective Gaither?
Not from the state.
Okay. All right, sir. Mr. Sharp.
Just before my cross begins, I just wanted to confirm that the state doesn't have any of those police reports that I inquired about.
Come on.
If memory serves me correctly,
Here we go.
one of the state's council sent you
I'm sorry, not
sent you a location of 2 of the police reports, but one of them haven't been able to find.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I wasn't clear. That is correct, and they were helpful in that regard. I'm referring to the investigative reports that I inquired about last week.
Okay.
Day 68, about 3 minutes.
John, I'm not
3
and just ask for Mr. Sharp playing attack here, but as it
31
relates to him asking
31 minutes.
about, as he did at the bench, a particular interview, a particular person, I would ask that he be precluded from inquiring into recordings of those and trying to get into getting the state to become a witness as to whether or not they were ever given it, because we have multiple
Her voice drives
documents
me.
bearing Sergeant Gaither's initials and the date that she copied it, along with these interviews that we have that were of her and another officer. So to the extent that our discovery in this case has been chock full of things that she did, if the implication is to be made that she didn't have one lost or something like that, we would ask that in not furthering any aspect of the truth, if there's something specific that Mr. Sharp wants to talk about, of course, we'll level an objection when it's mirrored again. But we would ask that he not be allowed to simply root at where is your report to a person who has not been at the Atlanta Police Department for 4 years or more. And to not be allowed, under 403, to not be allowed to mislead the jury.
Oh, she does like
material
that.
matters in this case. If he has a specific one, that's different. If he has
Yeah.
a specific objection, that's different.
Your Honor, that was fairly non-responsive. I asked specifically about, investigator testified last week that she wrote reports. I just noted that we hadn't had reports. On Wednesday, before we left, I just asked for those reports again, with the understanding that they may not be provided to me. And all I'm asking is, I guess the answer is no, the state doesn't have any additional reports. And
Okay,
that's fine.
let's be clear about what they don't have, okay? And I'm gonna include your email from Sunday, the 28th at 12:51 p.m.
Right, that's a different issue, Your Honor.
They have the written reports under the 2 APD case numbers. The memo on APD letterhead authored by Detective Dennis, including not limited to the surveillance video from the vault studio, those I don't think have been provided.
Right, and Your Honor, that's a separate matter. I was just thinking ahead to Investigator Dennis. We're not even there yet.
Okay,
I'm going back. On Wednesday, I inquired about reports that investigator stated she had written. And the state and Investigator Gaither stated they didn't have the reports on Wednesday. And
Right.
that's fine. I accept that. All I'm asking is, has there been any change since Wednesday? And I think Ms. Love, by not answering it, answered it. No, there's no change since Wednesday. We still don't have the reports. And that's fine. That's all I wanted to know.
okay.
And Your Honor, so that the record to be clear, if Mr. Sharp could please elucidate exactly which reports that
Look.
he's referring to, so that we don't get here and have a slugfest unnecessarily. and waste
Slugfest?
time. The court would just inquire which specific reports he is inquiring about, so that we can, if there's a better answer to provide it, but just which specific reports, because we have documents in here and reports from Sergeant Gaither. Just, I need to know the specific reports,
Her reports.
please.
Her reports. Any reports. Lord Jesus. Any reports. All right. So now I'm going to move it towards the end of the day. And it's 8 hours and 3 minutes. 8 hours and 30 minutes of day 68 is the very end of the day. Let's go. We'll go. Oh, I can't get it precise. But let's just go here. Here we go. I need to go back.
And wrote reports
I
about
need to go
those
back a little
interviews.
bit. I can't go right there. Let's go. Can I get to about 8 hours? Here we go. We'll just start right here.
Regarding what Mr. Steele just said,
About what? He said a few things. What do you want to clarify?
that certified conviction was admitted for a very limited purpose, and that was to establish Mr. Stillwell's convicted felon status, which we have repeatedly said we're willing to stipulate to.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
So
but
that's the
the
limited
state doesn't have to agree to stipulation.
I understand that, Your Honor, but it was admitted for that purpose and that purpose only, not to show association, not to show
All
the
right.
underlying facts of the conviction, not to do any of those things. When they're saying it's already been admitted, it was admitted for a very limited purpose. And that's it. And now they're trying to bootstrap the admission for that limited purpose to get into all this other highly prejudicial aspects of this case and of that case from 2010, and that's why it has no probative value beyond its very limited purpose, and it's
Right.
highly prejudicial. So the 403 balancing test weighs heavily.
Well, it does go to association. So, and for
A
the limited
lot of
purpose that you
stuff
just said,
went to-
so that it was admitted back, I want to say February.
I have a prediction, Your Honor, that before the state's done presenting their case, we're going to see dozens of videos with Mr. Williams, Mr. Copeland, Mr. Stillwell together in them. That is not
Indeed.
needed to prove association.
Indeed.
Well, if that's the case, then, well, I'll rule accordingly. Okay.
But it'll be too late because they'll already have elicited this objectionable testimony from Investigator Gaither tomorrow morning. That's the problem.
Mhm.
Well, I'll have to rule on it accordingly. I mean, I can't just say that they can't admit it at this point in time, but state, I'd ask you to relook that because it sounds like you are kind of expanding the purpose for the admission of that particular indictment earlier. I can see association, but we don't really need to go through all that again. So can you limit what you're asking tomorrow?
3-day 104.
My apologies, Your Honor.
I said, will you limit what you're going to present on that indictment tomorrow?
No expert.
Yes, Your Honor, and this is what we will, yes, and I can submit to the court in parties, but I just have
All right.
court said no, then don't do.
All right.
Your Honor, I have one other issue, if Your Honor would give just a minute. We have a unique situation. We have an investigator, Gaither, who testified that she spoke to certain witnesses and wrote reports about those interviews. Okay, that was her testimony on the stand.
Yep.
I am telling you as an officer of the court, and I think everyone on this side is in agreement. I believe the state's in agreement. In the discovery provided to us, there are no reports that document those interviews with Mr. Davis, with Mr.
Okay. We went through this twice already.
Okay,
So
but I'm gonna
what's your bottom line up front? What are you asking
Bottom
me
line
for?
is this: the only way to prove that fact would be to to prove a negative would be to admit the entire case file, all sorts of hearsay and everything else. I am asking Your Honor to basically tell the jury what we know and what the state knows.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
242201.
Look, they're going to. That's a call they're going to make. You, sir. You have vigorously examined this witness about these reports and the lack thereof and what she did or did not do. And I'm sure that your argument will also bring light to those particular issues. So at this point, I think you've done as much as you can. Now, I told you, if these things surface later on, then we're going to have a problem. So, and I'll deal with it at that point in time.
I'm not worried about them surfacing later on. My belief is they don't exist. My belief is she lied on the stand about it.
Well, I mean, but that's a credibility determination for the jury to make.
But Your Honor, but you could give a judicial notice instruction to the jurors to at least establish. Now,
I'm not going to do it. I told you, I'm not going to do it. You've asked me to do that 3 times already. I'm not going to do it.
Well, I asked for a stipulation last time.
Yeah, well, I can't I can't order a stipulation unless parties both agree to it.
And that's why I'm asking for judicial notice, because you can do that unilaterally.
No, I can't, because it has to be of something that, as old expression goes,
I don't really care how the old expression goes. And so, yeah, that's where that's going to end. So, as you heard, what did Judge Glanville say? If these reports appear later on, and I'm paraphrasing, they're going to have some problems. She said she was looking for this file before DK. DK testified day 57 through 60. This happened on day 68. So if you go with that knowledge, when Max Shard is arguing to Judge Glanville about her files, Love had already knew she found it. She had already knew that she had found something with things regarding Dexter Montgomery and DK and Nard in them, the way she presented it in file form, in hard copy file form. She had found that prior to day 57. On day 68, she sat silently while Shard and Glanville go back and forth about these files. On day 68, she argues to Judge Glanville, I need to know with specificity what files he's referring to. Exactly. He's only referring to Gaither's files. Any files pertaining to Gaither. Anything that Gaither has done, he wants those files. Anything Dennis has done, he wants those files. If you have anything that looks like something those two have done, please turn that over. Please let us know. But nothing. Crickets. Nothing. She sat there this whole time and said nothing until day 140. And if we do the freaking math, let's just say for kicks and giggles, she found it day 52. Day 52. 52 times 2 is 104. Day 104. Okay, they was out only because all the mess that was going on with Judge Glanville. Okay, well, when they came back, when Judge Whitaker took over, day 112, day 117, day 120, day 125, day 128, day 130, day 137, any of that time. Essentially, and let's just be honest, this ain't just hard math. This ain't just a straight up 60 days. This ain't just a straight up 70 days. There's weekends that are not included. There's non-jury days that are not included. There are vacation days that are not included. And at any point in time, she could have sent an email. FYI, guys, I found this burgundy file folder with lots of hard copied information. And I don't know if we necessarily scanned it in, although I believe we did include it in an evidentiary tranche that we sent to you guys. But I just wanted to confirm to you that it has a lot of information in it collectively that I think may be a file that you guys are looking for. If we're being 100% honest as a DA and, complete candor. Why do they have to beg? Why do they have to beg? They shouldn't have to beg. They really shouldn't. But, it keeps happening. And no one's really doing anything about it. Everybody's just kind of letting it go as it goes. And it's highly disappointing. But something Paige Whitaker said and did made a lot of sense to me when I thought about it. And let's see if it makes sense to you.
That specific question. I mean, listen, none of us are obtuse. Here. It is what it is. I think that the state was disingenuous about it. The state's been very slippery in regards to their response to the court's questions. I think it's willful, and I think a mistrial is appropriate.
I can't figure out what it is. If it's disingenuous, if it is that, I don't want to malign the prosecutor standing in front of me right now. So I'm not going to say the possible things that it could be, but it is baffling to me that somebody with the number of years of experience that you have, time after time after time, continues to seemingly purposefully hide the ball to the extent you possibly can for as long as you possibly can. And I really don't want to believe that it is purposeful, but honestly, after a certain number of times, you start to wonder how it could be anything but that, unless it is just that you are so unorganized that you are throwing this case together as you try it.
Incompetent.
And I am sorry to say that, but this case is being made much more difficult for everybody because of the haphazard way in which it is being presented. I'm going to take a recess for a few minutes. I'll have a ruling when I get back.
Does that resonate with anyone? Does that resonate with anyone? Just let it sink in. Because of the way that you are trying this case, you're making it way harder than it has to be. But this is the thing. You can call her out. You can admonish her. But at what point do we really say, enough is enough? You're doing too much. If this case is a black and white, as you say it is, we should be done by now. The witnesses are being difficult because they're now sitting in front of defendants. And when they're in that interrogation room with the police, they're not in front of the defendant. So they're much more likely to tell the truth then than they are now. I've never heard such BS. Because even with like John Gotti, when Samuel Bull testified against him, he knew he had immunity. He knew it was what it was. So yeah, he didn't have a problem going and saying what it was because it was what it was. It is a lot harder to say 9 years later, yeah, I said XYZ when you don't remember what you said. And then there's no one showing you what you said to say you said X, Y, and Z. And it baffles me that every detective, every crime scene technician, every other witness that you have come up, you are more than willing to share with them what they collected, what they said, what they wrote in their report. But anyone who seems to be an acquaintance with the defendant or at one point in time on trial with the defendants, you like, nope, we're going to let them go for broke. And they just gonna have to figure it out, because anything that they don't know with 100% certainty, we're going to use that to impeach them. You add on top of that the way Lakia Gaither was talking underneath her breath during her entire examination. Even for ADA Love, I think there was one point in time she was getting off the stand, like for a break, and also they were doing a side conference. She said, this is never going to end. Because she was pissed and tired of being called back to back. And it wasn't even back to back. There was like 6 months in between her testimonies. But she was just annoyed that they called her back. She's like, I got better stuff to do than to keep talking about this. Other witnesses feel the same. Like, you know, except for those that want to kind of like get a little bit of exposure. Most witnesses are kind of like, I've moved on with my life. And Trevia Smith, I moved on with my life. I'm no longer associated with these people. I'm doing something different. I'm raising my family and I'm going about my business. Can you leave me alone? Whether they really said it or not, I understand why it's of relevance now. But if your ducks was lined up in a row and your story was validated in what it was supposed to be, you wouldn't have to call all these insignificant people to just say, yep, I pulled over such and such on this day, or yep, I went to a shooting at this house. You wouldn't be arguing so hard about a Nibin hit. You don't know who shot, you don't know who gun it was, you don't know whose bullets it was, but you just know there's a hit in the system somewhere tying a shell casing here to a shell casing there. Boom. Why? What for what? For what? For why? Why? You know, this little break, I've been going back and rewatching videos just to kind of like try to wrap my mind around this whole thing. In day 82, and I plan on doing a video about this, but let me just give you a little bit of some of the meat and potatoes of what I'm thinking. Day 82, around the 3-hour, 30-minute mark. It was a short day. They're arguing about evidence, right? And Hilton is arguing about the reason why Donovan Thomas's father needs to come in and testify, right? He needs to come and testify because he can shed some light on Donovan Thomas's feeling about the way that Thug was moving, right? They felt like he was poaching their artists. They felt like Brian Birdman Williams was poaching TIG's artist. TIG is the label that Rich Homie Quan was on. And there's this point in time where Hilton is explaining her theory to Glanville, right? And she's like, on this hand, you got TIG. And on this hand, you got Young Thug, either loosely associated with or more associated with Brian Birdman Williams and Young Money Records, excuse me. And so a part of the reason why Thug ordered this assassination, if you will, on Nut was because, and let's not minimize by just calling him Donovan Thomas, was because without Rich Homie Quan, they couldn't do everything that they needed to do as far as the label and the music. So he had to take this person out so that they can move on with what they need to do business-wise. Brian Birdman Williams was already a millionaire at that point. That's not even including anything that he had got from the streets. He was already a millionaire at that point. Why wouldn't he just buy Rich Homie Quan out of his contract? Why would he need to go and get a whole charge? Why would Young Thug, in the midst of just starting his career and starting to take off, really need to get this charge? A whole felony. A whole felony. They need to get a whole felony to get this artist off of one label and bring him to another label. Why wouldn't you just buy him out of his contract? It happens all the time where artists are about, artists who are on one label are then bought out of their contract on that label, and then they're brought to a new label. It happens all the time because they have the potential to make more money on this label. Yeah, they throw that on the back end and say, well, you owe us that back. But it happens all the time in the music industry where people are on a smaller label who, probably don't have as much backing, but they gave you, your small little $20,000, $30,000 payouts, and then they negotiate with another. I mean, Jeezy had like freaking 3 or 5 label contracts going on at the same time. He had one with Bad Boy, he had one with Universal, and he had one with someone else. I can't even remember the name of it, but he literally negotiated contracts with all 3 and was getting paid by all of them when he first came out. Make it make sense. And now you brought in Quindarius Daiquiri, Moontunk, and even Detective Sprinkle, 88 Sprinkle, that kind of all confirmed that Thug knew nothing about it until after it happened. And everybody testified consistently to that. And in addition to that, with the tracking of the cell phones situation, you can physically place Woody at Thug's condo, and you continue to say, well, he was at this condo when all these other people were at this condo when they were discussing the murder of Donovan Thomas and what had just transpired, but you don't have the actual location data from the phone that puts him there because he didn't take that phone with him. And then to add to that, you have Fonnie Willis saying the location data isn't accurate anyways, because when it tracked her to her man's house, Nathan Wade, she said that was incorrect. So yeah, it is what it is. I'm not gonna haggle it, but you guys got to do better. They got to do better. And the people that are locked up right now, I don't know if they can see this, but y'all got to stop doing stupid mess because it's not helping you. The situation that just happened with Marcravius Huey's mom and sister getting locked up and behind the deputy that basically said that they were giving her bribes to make sure he was taken care of better. They have accounted $1,500 that was paid to her in bribes out of $17,000. But what the DA has not released is who would pay that other $17,000 and what other inmates were involved. Of course, they're only going to talk about the ones that are in YSL. They're not going to talk about all the other ones, but they accounted $1,500 to Huey's mom. Where's that other $1,550 coming from? And that's 15,000 or 1,550, 15,500. Where is that coming from? Who was paying that? Because that wasn't him. They didn't have them funds. So yeah, we need to figure that out. But of course, anything that highlights individuals involving the YSL trial, they're going to make sure that that is prime time front forward news. Anything else, they're going to make sure that that is not brought up. So you guys need to just sit in there and be quiet so that you can come home, because you're not making it easy on yourself at all, which is a little disappointing. But a lot of these individuals are young. They're not very old, and hardly any of them graduated high school. And I'm sorry to keep saying that, but it also speaks to intellect, and it just doesn't make sense for some of them. And it doesn't. And those of us watching and analyzing this and making sense of it and talking it through, and we can talk to each other about it, and try to make it make sense. But unfortunately, they don't have those luxuries and or privileges. So, let's just keep praying for them, and hopefully this madness will end soon. I did my first live, guys. It was hard. And I was an hour late. But I did it. Yes, I need better equipment. I will work on that feat next with the help of whomever. But I wanted to do it. I wanted to accomplish this goal. And I did. I'm happy I did. Thank you for those of you that tuned in and watched. I hope to have another one coming soon once I fully compile it. Tomorrow court is back in session. It is not a witness day. It is an evidentiary hearing day, so to speak, where we're going to discuss what's coming up next, witness list, and love filed 2 motions. One, to stop the defense from calling out 403 because she feels like all evidence is good evidence and nothing is a waste of time. And then her other one was to basically the phone number and the Instagram picture that Judge Whitaker got so ticked off about on day 138 last Monday. Yeah, love bringing that up again. It wasn't enough that she got in trouble and the world got to see her get not cursed out, but went off on. Yeah, she like, yep, she don't let stuff go. And she ain't letting this go. And basically she's saying, Judge, I hope you calm down now. You cooled out. And now you're willing to let me do this again the next time Sprinkle's on the stand. Because I've learned, and now I have a better way of asking him the questions I need to ask him to get out what I need to get out. So don't count that as hearsay and let me do that. Please and thank you. Yeah, that's my very annoyed voice. But, Monday was a show from the very beginning. It started off bad because of everything that happened the day before, but it was what it was. Like, share, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you can see when I upload. And thank you guys for tuning in. I won't keep you any longer, but thank you guys. I appreciate you for spending time with me tonight, this evening. Feel free to go back and watch. There's about 7 minutes in the beginning where it's just me waiting on someone to join. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks. Peace.